Ron, I cannot wait to hear your opinion on this because I know you indulge in a little bit of the snacky when you're at Walt Disney World. Unfortunately, guys, the price increases don't stop at the ticket booth or Lightning Lane. They're continuing on with food and merch. Here you go from Walt Disney World News today. Breaking food and drink prices increased at Walt Disney World this by Shannon Ace, October 8th, 2025. Again, this is in addition to Lightning Lane increases, addition to theme park tickets, annual passes, magic keys, all of that, and parking. Food and beverage prices have increased across the board at Walt Disney World. It looks like most of the food prices increased by 50 cents. For example, Mickey pretzels have increased from $7.99 to $8.49. Dole Whip pineapple cup has gone from $5.49 to $5.79. Popcorn in a standard souvenir bucket increased from $13 to $14.29. And it just goes on and on and on. You're thinking, well, wait a minute, those aren't horrible increases. Not so fast, because it is everything. Here you go. Breaking ear headbands. Select merchandise prices increase at Walt Disney World. This by Alice Kennedy, October 8th, 2025. You can see that the headbands went from $34.99 to $36.99. You can see that Loungefly mini backpacks are now priced at $100. I remember when those were like $60 and that was expensive back in the day. But nope. We're going to go ahead and increase those too. Oh, and you thought you were going to get out? Maybe you're not a Loungefly guy. Maybe you're not a snack guy. Oh, they got multiple ways to get you here at Disneyland. Here you go. Savi's Workshop going from $219 for a lightsaber, now $249. Droid Depot, $100 to $120. And Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique packages, well, those go up as well. Oh, I hate this, guys. I hate talking about price increases. But look, we got a range of price increases across the board. It wasn't just Lightning Lane. It wasn't just tickets. It wasn't just the tiers. It wasn't just all these things. It's now food and beverage as well on the same day. Guys, your thoughts on this particular aspect of these price increases?
My biggest curiosity is, and yes, we've seen a decrease in park attendance, especially Walt Disney World this year, but when does it become significant enough for the company to go, oh, wow, okay, we overdid it. I don't know. When you're drawing from a crowd of 8 billion people worldwide, can you continue to just price increase and find your audience? I don't know. I will say this. When I was a cast member and I was working as a server in a restaurant at Disney World, I always looked forward to those price increases because typically that meant a bump up in what I made on tips. Here's the odd thing, and I track this literally every year. For the first month, tips go down. Month and a half, 6 weeks, you can pretty much rely on the fact that you're going to get less business. It absolutely happens right after the price increases, and I experienced it firsthand as a working cast member, as a server in a restaurant, where people would come in. They would either order less food, we would get fewer guests. They might just get an appetizer. I can't tell you the number of times that people came to our restaurant just got an appetizer, pretty high-end Disney restaurant, but they would come in, they would get that $12 appetizer. They would sit there for an hour and a half and take up that, valuable table space. And every year after the price increases, that kind of continued and went on, and you'd see maybe 6, 7, 8 weeks down the road, it's like things would sort of even out and your regular guests would start to come back in. But it's interesting just seeing I think the popcorn buckets, the regular buckets at Walt Disney World, that typically, I want to say in 2019, they were like $8.99 or $9.99. And then you bought that bucket and you got dollar refills the rest of the day, right? Or really for your whole trip. Now, the refills, I believe, just went up to $2.49, and the buckets themselves are over $14. And that's just a regular standard popcorn bucket. So
right.
These, what they do is they try to make it look like small incremental increases on one item. But if you're going there with a family, you're buying, if you're going to buy 5 or 6 soda pops throughout the day, a few Mickey pretzels, a few churros, a few hot dogs, I mean, it adds up quick. And by the end of the day, you've spent an extra $100 that you wouldn't have spent 3 days ago.
It's interesting, Culture. I look at something like this and I just can't help but think that when I used to go to the parks, I used to try to walk away with something, having purchased a merchandise item every single visit. And actually, the posters behind me that you can see right there, that was actually a merchandise item that I bought at the parks, later framed. And I usually try to walk away with some artwork or something. now these price increases are so aggressive, just to go, just to be there, just to ride the rides that you want to. I don't necessarily, it's not that I don't have the money, but I'm not as inclined to buy something as I was before, and especially not as inclined to eat there as I was before. Culture, have your habits changed, or your thought process here?
Actually, it changed a long time ago, as it was evident to me that they were really heavily overcharging for everything. So I would take a refillable aluminium bottle with me, and I wasn't even buying the water anymore. I very much avoided that. I have several of these aluminum style bottles. A couple of them are the Disney green ones that I was given on a few experience tours. But I'll just tell you that I stopped paying for everything. I avoided food at the parks. Sometimes I would eat at Columbia House, but then it got really bad. It was not good anymore. But Magic Kingdom in Epcot, I would eat at the Japanese pavilion because they have a really nice Japanese restaurant in there. And to treat us one day, I would maybe do the pizza place that's in the back of Italy. But outside of that, there's no good place to eat in the Studios Park. And outside of Yak and Yeti, I know a lot of people like Zatuli, but outside of Yak and Yeti in Animal Kingdom, there really isn't another good restaurant, and that's not even operated by Disney. That's Landry's. Excuse me.
That's true.
I worked there as a server as well at Yak and Yetis, and it's an interesting thing about Yak and Yetis that as you point out the fact that it is Landry's and not Disney. I went back there recently, and I talked to the very manager that hired me, who has left and come back, and he said, like basically 80% of the staff there is the same as when I worked there back in 2018.
Yeah.
Because they treat their people better.
They do, and those people, and those servers, Ron, and you could probably attest to this, make a good amount of money in tips because the guests are satisfied with the quality of the food, the presentation, and the ambiance. I mean, you couldn't pick a better location right there at that little intersection of paths. And it's just, if you can get the reservation or you get the time you want, it's incredible. Although a lot of people are telling me you can walk up and get into the restaurant now.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things. If you have that Landry's card, which you pay for but then get paid back, it's pretty easy to get a seat. They actually hold back a number of reservations, a number of seats for that particular guest set, so that if somebody does walk up and they have the Landry's card, they have a place to seat within 10, 20 minutes.
Right. Well, I've heard great things about Landry's overall, but Yak and Yeti, I've eaten there before. Very, very good, very, very tasty, very, very flavorful, and I can see myself actually indulging in that, especially if I'm Animal Kingdom, for instance. There's not a lot of rides there, right? So taking the time to actually have a nice meal, not too bad. But man, I was at Blue Bayou a couple of years ago now, and it was my first time actually eating there, and I was very, very excited. We had a big party with us, and that bill came out to just shy of about $400, if I remember correctly. And I was stunned and amazed at how inferior the food quality was compared to even other places at Disneyland Resort, and especially, just outside the park gates right there. And I was just like, what has happened to the food quality at Disneyland Resort and maybe even Disney parks? It's just dropped considerably, and yet the price has just exploded. So
I just... Bayou?
Yeah, Blue Bayou. I mean, it was appalling. It was really bad.
Like, that's the one place that I really enjoyed eating at Disneyland. It's been a number of years, but man, that is kind of sad to hear. I mean, Blue Bayou is one of those places that is a destination restaurant people want to go to, and to hear that the quality has dropped.
Yeah, and then you have the food, and then you're like, oh man, because I remember it being excellent. Now it's like worse.
I've heard so many good things.
Yeah, and now it's Now it's like, ragu spaghetti sauce kind of place. So it's just like, oh, man.
Not good at all. And there's one more particular aspect that I have to touch on just very, very quickly, though, because I know we have to wrap this up. But apparently the Walt Disney World snack carts are going cashless. I find this also interesting as well. Looks like the Walt Disney Company is not, they're not satisfied with having people pay for cash and maybe actually think about what's actually coming out of their wallet. Oh, no, they got to move to a cashless system in a move that a lot of people are speculating invokes more, how should I put this, looser spending. across the Walt Disney World Resort property, at least with the snack carts. We'll have to keep an eye on this because I'm very fascinated that they would go cashless at all, but it is something to note when covering the happenings at Walt Disney World Resort.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media account.